Hi. The House of PMO has recently released the House of PMO Essentials for Directors course, and I just wanted to spend a few minutes to deal with some of the frequently asked questions we've already had about the course. So the first question we often get asked is, well, what's a PMO Director? The House of PMO Essentials course for managers has been out for a while now. We weren't expecting to get a director's one because we're not really sure what a PMO Director is. So let me just tell you a little bit more about how we differentiate between a PMO manager and a PMO director. The role profiles are as detailed in the PMO Competency Framework. And the PMO manager is somebody who manages a PMO in the organisation. The PMO director is the most senior PMO person in the organisation. So they may well manage a PMO office, typically the portfolio office, and they may even be called a PMO manager in their day job. However, when we look at what the role description says of a PMO manager, they do more than just manage the office. They work with the senior team and they look after the whole of the PMO provision across the whole organisation. They look after the PMO function. They decide on how many PMO officers are, where they're going to be located, and they work out how best to support the organisation to deliver their strategy through projects and programmes. So the next question we often get asked is, why are the essentials, Eileen? Are they for people who are currently in the director's job, or are they for people who are looking to move into the director's job? And the course was designed to give an understanding of the breadth and the depth of the role as described in the role profile in the Competency Framework. We're conscious that not every PMO director, not every PMO manager who's aspiring to move into that role has an understanding of what that role might involve. And so what we've done is we've taken the generic role description of the PMO director and says these are all of the things that are you're most likely to be asked to do in that director's role. Now, when you apply for a job, you may only be asked to do part of that, but at least you've got a picture of what the whole role can involve. And so the course is relevant for people who are at a PMO manager's role and are looking to move into a PMO director's job, or essentially anybody who's looking to move into that PMO director's role. We often find people from in business as usual come into the PMO at that kind of strategic level. But we also find that people who've been doing that job for a while also find that really useful because in their current organisation, they don't necessarily cover everything that's involved in that role. So relevant for anybody who's moving into that role or somebody who's been in that role but wants a fuller understanding of what that role can involve. So we know that the Essentials for Directors course is based on the role profile within the Competency Framework, and we pick up a number of competencies from the Competency Framework. So people ask, well, which specific competencies do we cover? So there is a kind of a broader syllabus available, but the specific competencies we cover off are 5 key competencies. One is P3M delivery support. And you go, hold on a minute, Eileen. We're talking at director level. Why are they doing delivery support? Because we have to remember that delivery support covers projects, programmes and portfolios. And part of the role of a PMO director is to support the design and delivery of the portfolio with the senior executive. So it's not necessarily maintaining the kind of the risk register for a small project. It is doing that kind of delivery support at the portfolio level. So we cover off that as a competence. And then we cover off 4 enabling competencies that from a PMO director's perspective is done organisation-wide, not just from their PMO. So we look at capacity management first, and that's about understanding from the organisation what's actually required, how many people do we need at what particular level in order to be deliver business as usual, but also all of those kind of change projects and programmes. And the second one, very closely linked to that, is capability development. So how do we make sure that we've got development paths in place for not just the PMO community, but the project and programme delivery capability as well? The third enabling competence we look at is assurance. So again, providing objective assurance on projects and programmes to give confidence to the senior executives and to the sponsors that the projects and programmes, and particularly the portfolio, is going to deliver as expected. And then the final enabling competence is governance. So making sure we've got a real understanding of how the projects and programmes deliver, who's accountable for each of those, the various aspects of the projects and programmes, and making sure we've got decision making and reporting in place so people can make the right decisions at the right time with the right information. Although we cover just those 5 competencies from the Competency Framework, we do, when we talk about the role description of the PMO Director, we do recognise that there are other competence from other competency frameworks that the PMO Director needs to have. So project management, programme management, portfolio management and change management. And although we don't go into a whole amount of detail of those competencies because there are other courses that cover that, we do talk through the level of competence required in each of those different frameworks. So as you might recognise, this is the 4th course in the suite of House of PMO Essential certifications. This is the Directors course. We've had one for administrators, one for analysts and one for managers. So one of the questions we often get asked is, do we need to have done the previous 3 courses before we do this 4th course? No, you don't. There are a specific set of prerequisites before you can come onto the Directors course though. And each of the training providers will check you have these before attending. So they're typically things like making sure you've got a kind of sufficient knowledge of project and programme management and you've got some years of experience within a project environment. The specifics can be found in the syllabus and in the course details. When you attend the Essentials for Directors course, there is a short section at the beginning of the course to go through some of the key concepts that have been introduced in the previous courses. So things like the service catalogue, a service-based PMO, the different types of PMO, the role profiles and the PMO life cycle. So all of the key terms will be refreshed for you on that course. And the question we often get asked with some trepidation is there an exam? Yes, there is. And if you're successful in the exam, you will get a certificate that signifies that you have got a knowledge of the role, the breadth and the depth of the role of the PMO Director. So yes, there is an exam. The exam is a 1-hour exam. It has 50 questions and it's closed book. So it's there. You have to kind of know all of the things in your head. And the interesting thing about the PMO Director's exam, it isn't about can you remember what's in each of the kind of various sections of the Competency Framework or the service catalogue. It really is focused about can you apply some of your knowledge to given scenarios. So 60 minutes to get that, and when you're successful in that exam you will get a certificate that says you understand the principles and the breadth and depth of the role of the PMO Director and are ready to start in that role. If you have got any more questions, do get in touch with hello@houseofpmo.com.